Here's to 1,000 more episodes.
1,000 more episodes. Woo. Okay. 5, 4, 3. Welcome to the Cooking Up Joy Show. I'm your host, Alicia Madeline Smith, the Grief to Gratitude chef and founder of Roots and Returns. Here we use the power of food stories and traditions to heal, reconnect, and rediscover joy. Today's episode is the joy of Honeybun cake, layers of fatherhood and family. Today we're finding joy in how Honeybun cake teaches us about the layers of fatherhood and family. This dish isn't just dessert. It's a reminder of the layers of love, family, and fatherhood. With its swirls of cinnamon and brown sugar, it reminds us that love is messy, layered, and sometimes bittersweet. But it's what makes life so meaningful. I'm so excited to share with you that I have joining me today is my baby little brother, JT Taylor. Now, JT is not only an incredible dad to 4 amazing daughters, but he's also an amazing husband, amazing son, amazing little brother. But he's also someone who has been shaped by the love of his own father, my stepdad, who raised both of us in his own unique way. Today, we'll reflect on the lessons, legacies, and the love that fathers pass down, and how JT is creating his own path as a dad. This episode is about honoring the legacies we're given while creating our own. Now, we're going to get started with making our drink. But first, hello, Jay.
Hey, sis. How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be able to speak with you and kind of share a little bit of insight on the grief of the passing of our father, and then also my favorite thing in the world, Honeybun cake.
All right. And now, Honeybun cake is JT's favorite dessert, right? Or favorite all time, or no?
I'd say it's favorite all time. Yeah, for sure.
It wouldn't be the Cooking Up Joy Show if we didn't pair our dessert with a cocktail. So we're going to be making a peachy apple cider margarita, and it's inspired by the warmth and the sweetness of Honeybun cake with a little tartness to remind us that life, like fatherhood, is a mix of flavors. It's also inspired by what was in JT's pantry. So one thing that I love to do is you don't have to go out and run to the store and find a bunch of things and make a fancy recipe. Whatever you have in your cupboard, whatever in your pantry, whatever is in your fridge, we can make a miracle with it. We just got to figure out what it is. Peachy apple cider margarita. So the first thing we're going to do, JT, do you have all your accoutrements? If you're tuning in and you'd like to join us and have a drink with us, first of all, drink responsibly, okay? You need some ice, ideally a shaker. If you don't, it's fine. You want to have, like JT said, some peach syrup. You want to have some apple juice or apple cider, some tequila. Any kind of tequila is fine. Now to garnish, ideally you have some cinnamon and sugar.
I have sugar.
Okay, so sugar works. And then an apple and lemon. Now JT is not really into apples, so
I do have a lime for the occasion.
Very good, very good. And because it's a margarita, we have lime. All right, so let's start with filling up our shaker with some ice. We're gonna do, now, Jay and I, as you heard, we're siblings, so we do like to partake in the spirits. So we're gonna make ours a little bit strong, but at home, it's just 1 part tequila. But Jay, we're gonna go for 2.
Got it. 3 times for good luck.
3 times for good luck. Absolutely. 3 times for good luck. Let's put it all in there. Okay. So we're going to do 1 part apple cider. So 1 part, 1 ounce. Just fill up your little cup.
Assistant, can you give me a bottle opener? This is not a twist cap.
It's not a twist cap. And actually, I said 1 part. It's actually 3 parts. of the apple cider. Very good, very good.
I know how to eyeball. So.
That's all you need. And now we're gonna go on with our peach syrup. Uh, now I don't know which peach syrup you have. It's amazing. That's fine. I actually happened to make some this morning. So we're gonna fill up your 1 ounce or eyeball. You're gonna do about a half of your cup, and that's it. Put your top on, and then we're gonna shake it up. And then we're pouring it in, and that's it. Oh, wait, before you pour it, we gotta put sugar on the rim.
I beat you to it.
Okay, well, for folks at home, if you're like me and your couple of drinks have gotten to you already, you're gonna put a little lime or lemon on your rim. And then dip it into your cinnamon and sugar. Okay, now pouring it in. Ready? Here we go. Look at how pretty. Now that is a peachy apple margarita. Peachy apple. Uh-oh. Peachy apple cider margarita. Add your apple. Okay, the apple just broke. Let me add another one. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Two siblings.
Don't keep behind that.
What do you think?
Good. I like it.
All right. That's really good.
The apple cider, I feel like makes it unique. I haven't tasted anything like that, but it's good.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. One of the things that I used is the cinnamon. I just got back from Zanzibar, so I'm using cinnamon from Tangawezi Spice Farm in Zanzibar. So super, super good, super spicy. All right, so now there's so much power in tequila, right? So we got to honor that strength because it's a really powerful drink. Of course, peach syrup brings the sweetness and it reminds us of the tender moments like JT playing with his daughters, my nieces, or sharing a laugh with Big Mike, our dad. And the sparkling cider, that's the joy, that's the effervescence. It comes when we create memories with the people that we love. So, JT, one more toast. Here's to the fathers who raised us, the fathers that chose us, and the father that you will continue to become, and the sweetness that they bring to our lives. Cheers.
Cheers.
Now, JT, your dad raised both of us, but in different ways. What's one lesson that you learned from him that you carry with you as a father?
I definitely say one of the biggest lessons that I sort of took from my dad wasn't necessarily a lesson that he told me, but it was kind of the way he lived his life. He was unapologetically himself. And that's something that I'm 33 years old that I have just sort of come into in maybe the last decade of my life or so, where who cares who likes you, who cares what you think. I'm gonna enjoy myself. I'm gonna have a good time, and those who love me and know me are going to be able to share in that as well. So
Absolutely. Cheers. What's a memory of your dad that stands out, something that reminds you of the kind of love that he gave?
honestly, I would have to say probably one of my more fonder memories is I've been living in Atlanta about 8 years now, and when I would go home to Elizabeth City, North Carolina, to visit our hometown, um, just being able to sort of go by my dad's house and sit on the front porch, and there was never any pressure to go anywhere, do anything. It was just like being in his presence, being with him, sitting on the front porch. it was something special. I obviously I have tons of memories of him growing up, but sitting on the porch with him, I don't know, it holds a special place in my heart because it felt like home. Like yes, I had come home to the geographic location that I recognized, but being with him in his presence really did feel like home.
That's beautiful. Do you remember any of those conversations?
Well, and like most Southern older gentlemen, the conversations were filled with soliloquies and random facts and rhymes that when I was younger really didn't mean much. But
Yeah.
as I've grown older and as I've gained more insight, it's kind of like, oh, okay, that okay, he was going somewhere with that. He wasn't
Yeah.
just being, you know, uh jovial. He wasn't just
Your dad passed away less than 6 months ago. How has that loss shaped you in the way that you see fatherhood now?
um that it's definitely shaped the way I interact with my kids in that I'm trying to make every moment count. I don't know that my dad was being intentional with that, but he certainly was. Like those small conversations that were seemingly, just trivial, were profound to me. And so I'm trying to sort of carve out my own little niche with my daughters, with my children, where, a simple walk around the block, I want to make it something that sticks with you. Us running to the store to get some candy, I want you to be able to carry that with you. Whether it be with, the grabbing your hand as we walk into the store, or whether it's me opening the door for you as we exit this. Like, I just want to do something that they'll remember every
Yeah,
day.
I love that. Something that comes to mind now is I remember, I don't know if you still do this. Um, do you remember, I don't know if it was a hashtag or a post or something. It was like, what was it?
um,
Does your dad do this?
remember when your dad used to, and it would be random things that I know people's dad never deal with them.
Remember when your dad used to, it it resonated with me because I didn't have that. I didn't, like how great would it be? How great is it that your girls in 20 years will be able to remember when their dad used to take them to the park, walk into the store and hold their hand, um, give them a couple of dollars to go into the dollar store. And you're right. There are a lot of Black folks we may not have had that. In the same way, just because the generations are different. So kudos to you for the way that you show up for your girls.
I definitely think fatherhood looks different depending on the generation. I feel like my generation, um, there were a lot of things that guys my age maybe lacked, or maybe they wish they had, and maybe their fathers just didn't have the tools. And so we are being intentional about how we show up in our kids' life. And my my dad was a absolute great man, and I take everything I learned from him, and I use that in my journey of fatherhood. But then I also just sprinkle a little bit of that razzle dazzle of
Razzle dazzle.
myself in there too. So
I love that.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Now, before we get too far along, we didn't talk about part of the reason we're here is the honey bun cake. Let's both have a taste.
Sure thing. Every time I eat honey bun cake, it reminds me of home.
Yeah. Ooh, Ooh.
Yeah, that homemade icing and
Mhm.
cinnamon. It
That's
really, it really is. It must be like a northeastern North Carolina thing because nobody else that I asked has ever heard of honey bun cake. And so, for me, it's a beautiful reminder of the place of which I come and
that's
the
right.
people back home that influence and help me become who I am.
Absolutely. I love that you said that. And you name where we're from. We're from Northeastern North Carolina. It's a lot of food things that we have in Northeastern North Carolina that folks haven't heard of, which is just crazy to me because it was such a part of our life.
Right.
Um, so it's weird and strange and interesting that folks haven't heard of that. But honey bun cake, y'all, is so delicious. It's a honey bun. Went to the corner store, or I don't know, depending where you were, maybe you went to a bodega. We didn't have bodegas, but we had a corner store. Our corner store was Pick and Pay.
You can pay.
So if you went to the corner store, you got maybe a 99-cent honey bun. Think that, but in cake form. This thing is so good. It's so soft. It's moist. It's got that tartness. It does have sour cream in there, so it's got a really tartness of sour cream. You got the spice from the cinnamon, and it's so smooth and delicious. So, it's a cake that I enjoy making, particularly because it's JT's favorite cake. So, and he's my baby brother. So, we've got this really interesting relationship because I'm the eldest of my mom and we were raised together. Um, and he's just like this amazing person in my life that I just feel so drawn to, so connected to, but not just to him, but to his wife. Like his wife, I just refer to her as sis. So much so that if I'm in a room with a bunch of people, this literally happened, and I tested this in a room with a bunch of people. Maybe this has been a few months ago when unfortunately, we've been home for several funerals. So at one of those places, I said, sis, SIS. I just called that word out, and she turned around. So I think that is really interesting. Like that just for me defines the relationship that I have with him, but also the relationship that I have with everyone that's connected to him. So his wife and his children and his dogs, by the way. And so to his girls and to his pups, and there were two, now it's just one.
Yeah, and we were talking about that string of losses.
Yeah.
Numerous family members, maybe 4 or 5 family members in the last 6 months. But then a dog that I had for 12, 13 years, my first adult purchase, recently passed away. So it's just, this is been a busy time as far as grieving and working with you and speaking with you has really helped, and which is why I was excited to kind of get on this call and have this conversation with you, because I feel like we do it all the time anyway. So
We do it all the time anyway.
right, so just to capture it and immortalize it, it means a lot to me, and being on your platform, let the folks see me, let them know that you're as awesome as you seem.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Mm. Oh, I wasn't prepared for tears. Mm. And yet, here I have a napkin. Okay, so thank you for saying that. That's very, very sweet. And I think that really just puts the cherry on the kind of relationship that you and I have. Um, because of so because this conversation is about fathers, and particularly your dad, my stepfather, and I'm saying stepfather, but I've always referred to him as my dad. But I don't know why I'm putting that distinction on it, or maybe I do know. I'm putting that distinction on it because I want it. It's important for me for folks to see that family is not always what you're born into. Sometimes folks choose you. Sometimes we choose folks to be a part of our family, and so when my mom, our mom, which we haven't talked about her, like what we I know this is about dads. Maybe we need to just have a separate show, a whole separate show for our mother, because
We'll
she's
run it back.
okay, because she's all the things, and she has been mother and father in our lives. Certainly, um, before you were born, because we're like a million years apart.
Not that far.
Kinda, but thank you. Um, but yeah, I do. I'd love to have that. Would you be open to having that conversation about
Of
mom?
course, of course.
Okay. Yeah, because she's just an amazing force, a consistent force in our life, and she always shows up for us individually, though. Like there are ways in which Ma has shown up for me that you probably don't know, and ways in which she's shown up for you that I don't know. And we had another brother too. Um, so there's so many ways that she has shown up for all of us that we don't know. So I definitely want to make sure that we highlight that.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So where I was going with this is so Big Mike was so amazing. One of the things you mentioned, having such great loss and having lost your pup, the first part of your family, Jose. Would you like to say a couple things about Jose?
Sure. Yeah.
He was, what kind of puppy was?
Jose was a Beagle mix. I got him from the SPCA about a month after graduating college.
Rescue.
A part of the reason why I chose Jose, not a lot of people know this, but growing up, my favorite book was Where the Red Fern Grows. It's a book about a boy who wants some hunting dogs, and
Okay.
he saves up, he gets the money for the hunting dogs, he becomes like a big hunting champion. And so when I walked into the SPCA, I see this hunting dog. I'm like, OMG! Like I've always wanted a dog. Here's a hunting dog, and so that's the reason why I chose him. This would have been in March of 2014. He
Oh,
and at the time they said he was like 3 or 4 years old. I had him up until this past November. When he had gone blind, he was deaf. He hung in there as long as he could, and so I am appreciative of that. He got to see all the different ways in which my family has grown, all the loss and triumphs that I've dealt with in my adult life. And so having him pass after my dad, my grandfather, cousins, it just felt like I was being picked on, or it literally felt like who's next? Like
mm,
I had gotten to a place where month after month, it just if I hadn't talked to you in a while, you were calling me. I didn't want to answer the phone because I was afraid of what news you may have for me. And
right. That's
Jose passing was kind of like the button that maybe I I just kind of shut down after that.
yeah. Ooh, I just want to hold space for you for that. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. But luckily, I have amazing people like you, our mom, my wife. I have an amazing support
Shout
system.
out to your wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want folks to meet her, so you guys will get to meet her. Um, I sent her a text inviting her to this conversation. She hasn't said yes yet, but hopefully she will say yes. Obviously, you're an amazing dad to four daughters. What's one thing you do with them that you learned from your dad?
So, my dad growing up, especially when I was the age that they are now, had a knack for sort of I don't want to use, well, I guess it is what it is. Finding free fun where
Okay,
like it didn't
well,
necessarily
that's pretty
cost
fun.
it didn't cost a ton of money, but for 8, 7, 6 year old kid, it just meant the world. And so whether that was us driving down Trinkalo, which is kind of like the country part of where we're from,
Third
and
road,
just,
y'all. Third road.
and just like cruising down. Like we would go for rides for hours. We would
Yeah.
stop to the gas station. He let me get whatever I want, and he just be rambling away while I just ate my snacks. That's something that whoever wakes up first with me on Saturday mornings knows. Like I'm an early bird. I'm a morning person. Everybody sleep on Saturday, but if you wake up early with daddy, like we going somewhere. We're gonna go
Yeah.
do something. And trying to create those memories, it reminds me that, I got that from somewhere. I didn't pull that out of my, what.
Yeah.
That came from somewhere. And knowing that I got that from my dad, knowing that, my dad was the one that kind of shaped those sort of, let's go to the park and just sit out there all day. Like
Mm,
you wanna run around the house and be crazy. Okay, I'm gonna take you somewhere where you can be crazy. And
yeah.
that's the kind of stuff he would say. And so now that's
Sound
what
like him. You literally sound like him. So no.
I
Oh, I appreciate that. That's got me wondering, how do you intentionally create memories like that for your girls, knowing how important those memories and those moments were for you?
Well, for me, I just look at every day as another opportunity to create a memory. Big or small, every day isn't going to be Disney World, but it's these little breadcrumbs that you leave. That my hope is that when I'm no longer here and I'm long gone, and they have kids and their kids, that they'll, the same way I took little pieces of my dad and was able to share it with them, that they may never know that that's where it came from. That my great grandkids may someday get those same little nuggets, with no sort of trace of where it came from. And that's the true definition of legacy.
That's right. That's got me wondering, that what's one thing you hope that your daughters will remember about you when they're grown?
Nobody's ever asked me a question. That's a good one. Um, Something I hope my daughters remember about me when I'm grown, when they're grown, is I want them to really take in how I love their mother.
Hmm.
Raising girls, I do feel like it is important to
Hashtag
sort
girl
of,
dad.
yeah, to emphasize and kind of show them, no love story is perfect, but hey, your dad loves your mom, and you take that with you wherever you go. You go across the world, you live to be 110 years old. Always remember your dad loved your mom. And so I try to, through my actions, show them that, so that they can take that with them and carry that with them.
I love that. Yeah, that's incredibly beautiful because there's this other layer, right? Like what you just described makes me think about how we learn to love our own selves as little girls to grown women. So thank you for sharing that. Is there a specific story or maybe an activity or tradition that you do with your daughters?
I would say um that each of my daughters is different, and so we have different traditions that just they work for us. My oldest daughter, Skylar, she's a big movie buff, so am I. And so on a lazy Saturday when, we don't have any plans, we'll just lay around all day, and she'll show me a movie that she really wants to, that she thinks I'll like. I'll
Yeah.
show her some old school movie from the 90s that, I remember from my childhood, and we'll just go back and forth trying to like battle it out. Like my movie was better, or my movie was better. And that's sort of that's our thing. My middle kid Zoe, she is not into movies. Doesn't like sitting still. Does not want to watch movies at
Nope.
all. But we have our own special thing. Me and Zoe, when we're alone, it's kind of like, Daddy, let's go to the basketball court, or Daddy, let's go race. I bet you can't do more push-ups than me. There's almost like this competitive, and I appreciate that, because I feel like that is a similar sort of that's similar to the relationship that I had with my dad when I was that age, where it was
Yeah.
like a competitive sort of, I want to show you that I'm big and bad too. Look at me. Look, squeeze my muscle, and that's the kind of thing we do. And then Marley, she's just she's a little baby, and she's 2 years old. But even the two of us, we have our own thing where like she likes to have me to herself, and so I enjoy that alone time with her, whether we're watching Coco Melon or Gracie's Corner, or she's grabbing me wanting to show me some snack in the pantry that she can't reach. It's kind of uh, each of them have their own unique sort of thing that is our thing.
I love that. And just shout out to little babies who learn to say auntie uh, for their two, because that's Marley. I mean, she's two now, but um, all the girls, I'm gonna say sis probably did that, but all the girls have said auntie like really, really young, like this. I want to say before they got a bunch of words.
Yeah, for sure, for
Maybe
sure.
I don't know if mommy and daddy came first, but auntie definitely a close third. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now, I know a lot of parents who are watching, you can relate to wanting to create these kinds of moments. Jay, if you could share with us, what's a tradition that you started with the girls that you hope that they will continue to carry on?
Well, oddly enough, a tradition, I think all of the entire family's favorite tradition is one that I feel like I kind of inherited from you as a kid. And
Oh,
that's like trick or treating and Halloween.
oh, I love
Um,
Halloween.
everybody loves Christmas, and that's kind of like a given.
Yeah.
But in our home, October and Halloween is like a really big deal. We map out our costumes for months ahead of time. Before we go trick or treating, we literally have like a map of the city and all the different neighborhoods we're going to hit. I
Yeah.
remember sharing those kind of memories with you, and because you were like the designated sort of trick or treater, and the only mom was busy handing out candy at the house, and
Mhm.
you were the only one that had time to take me, and so we always made it a big deal, and so I intentionally have made that tradition sort of my family's thing. We're gonna go all out on the costumes. We're gonna get as much candy as we possibly can. They look forward to it, and I mean honestly, I think I enjoy it just as much as them. So
Yeah, just that's a beautiful. I not only is that a beautiful memory for them to carry on and tradition for them to carry on, it's a real thing. Like you guys do. If you guys are what 1 year you guys were bumblebees?
yeah, yeah, we were all bumblebees. I think Skylar and Zoe. I mean, they couldn't have been more than one and two.
Yeah, the whole family was bumblebees, and you guys they've been ladybugs. I don't remember if y'all were ladybugs. Maybe sis was ladybug.
We were the 101 Dalmatians 1 year, and
Yep.
Thomas was the Cruella de Vil. We've been this past year. We were
The Flintstones.
that was last year. We were the Flintstones last year.
Okay.
What were we this year? Ah, oh, Hocus Pocus. We were Hocus Pocus this year.
Hocus Pocus, which is that's your favorite Halloween cartoon or
Uh,
Sky's?
I think a little bit of both.
Okay. Let's talk about the honey bun cake. So the honey bun cake is a reminder that the love we pour into our families, whether it's through time, traditions, or just showing up, is what makes life. How do you honor his memory while also carving out your own path as a father?
So I'm happy you sort of mentioned that because I feel like that's a conversation that does not get talked about, and that um, nobody's perfect. We all have our shortcomings or the things that we can improve upon. And when I was younger, I certainly didn't have the insight I have now, but as I've become a father myself and as I've grown older, it sort of helps me empathize and sympathize with sort of people's plights, and knowing that like life is hard.
Life is
And when you're a kid with no bills, no stress, no issues, you look up at your father sometime and you're like, hey man, get it together. Like get step out of it, and
Get
you
out of
don't
it.
you don't realize that that man is human.
Yeah.
And especially now that my father's passing, and we had a great relationship, so there's no issue there. But um, sometimes I look back on thoughts or feelings I may have had in the past about my father, and it really burns me up because it's like, man, you had no idea that life was as hard as it is, and you gave that man no grace. You gave him no leash to be a human.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, now that I'm a lot older, I move intentionally, and I want my kids to sort of, get the best example possible. But I also want to, give them some insight that life isn't all roses. They're kids, they're naive to a lot, and I certainly wouldn't want to taint them in any way. But
Right.
I do want them to have the insight that I don't believe I had when I was their age.
Mm. I love that. I love that you spoke about your dad being human. I think, and I think this could be for anybody, right? Like parents and spouses and children and friends and the people who we hold dear. We don't sometimes, we have to remind ourselves that that's a human too, because we want that grace. When we make a mistake, well, you obviously I'm human. I just made a mistake. But when other folks make a mistake, we hold them to this higher standard, like because you shouldn't have done that to me.
Right.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much. Um, yeah. Now tell me, what's one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's trying to balance honoring their parents, honoring their parents' legacy while being their own kind of a parent?
Honestly, and I mean, I'm not the guru by any means, but I do feel like I have done a good job at sort of trying to take the tools and the tidbits that I've been given from my father, from my parents, and sort of try to pivot, then put my own little spin on it so that I have this pretty package to sort of present to my kids that they can then carry on, so on and so forth. I would say honestly, just nobody's perfect, so take the stuff that works, keep that, and then if it didn't work, just know your parents did their best,
Yeah.
and have grace with whatever that is, and improve upon it as best you can as you sort of pass the baton to the next generation.
Oh, that's really good. I appreciate that too. So, just a reminder, y'all, we have Honeybun cake that we're eating, and we got this peachy sparkling apple cider margarita situation that we're sipping with. If you tuned in earlier, then you got the recipe. If you want the recipe, just hit me up. I'll make sure that you have it. That honey bun cake reminds us that life is layered. It's not always perfect. Like life ain't perfect. Life be lifing. But there are layers, the swirls, the sweetness, and the struggle. They make life meaningful. JT shared today his love for his dad and how his love for his dad has shaped him and how he's pouring that same love into his daughters in his own unique way. So as you bake this cake at home, think about the layers of love in your own life, the people who've shaped you, and the sweetness that you're creating for the next generation. I do have a joy assignment for you. So the joy assignment for you this week is to bake something that reminds you of your loved one, whether it's a recipe that they taught you, or maybe it's just something that brings you back to a really special memory. As you bake or cook on the about the lessons that they share with you, share your creations with us at hashtag Cooking Up Joy. We'd love to feature you on our next episode. Now, before we go, JT, is there anything that you would like to share with us that we don't know about your dad? Anything that we should know, could know, anything, anything?
I will say that my dad was a unique character, Mr. Johnny Michael Taylor. I
Right.
feel like there is a unique club for kids like myself where that favorite uncle that all your cousins love, that favorite brother that all the siblings love, that man, that person, that they hold a special place in your heart. But for their children, they are that much more special.
Yeah.
And my dad was definitely one of those people where he was the light. He was the life of the party. He was he was gonna make you get up. You were gonna dance. You were gonna sing.
Oh,
And I'm doing my best to sort of take that light that he had that shines so brightly, and just I want to be that light for my family and for the folks that are still here. Um, I obviously can't be him. I don't know that I'll be able to fill his shoes, but I do believe that I have that same sort of spirit, and I want to be what he was to his loved ones, to mine. So that's something I got from him. That's something that I truly want to emulate. And I don't know that this grief will ever go away, but I do think that conversations like this and speaking with you and just being surrounded by people that love you and want to see the best for you, that is the best medicine that you can take. And so I eat this honey bun cake, and honey bun cake reminds me of home, and home reminds me of him. So
well, on that note, that was incredible. Thank you for sharing all of that. That feels like a good place to stop. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. If you'd like to stay connected, we'd love to stay connected with you. Hashtag cooking up joy. Tag us in anything that you have. We'd love to feature you, feature your story, talk more about you. If you'd like more of this, we do a ton of this in our membership, the healing table. Let me know if you're interested and I can link that to you. But cheers to fathers everywhere. Cheers to you, JT.
cheers, sis. Love you.
Love you too.